Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, as you saw me having a little chortle there, something slightly different today. We're going to have a bit of a tribute, if you like, to some of my subscribers and viewers that have made recent various contributions. I know recently we talked about Jason from Model Kit Stuff, of course, and we've got a couple of other people who've been giving some interesting contributions or who have done things that are interesting and worthy of comment, and I think we should perhaps, as modelers, make you a bit more aware of them. So first of all, as you probably think, what the hell's he on here? Is he taking some drugs or something? What's going on? I have in my hand here Gorilla the Chimp, which is a short novel which is basically aimed, as you might imagine, at children. Now this is written by a friend of the channel, John Padgham. Now I haven't pronounced his name right. It could be Padgham or Padgham. Not entirely sure, so I'm sure John will correct me and tell me the right one. Now he is, he wrote this, he's actually about the same age as myself, I noticed, and he wrote this a little time ago, basically for his kids, and there's a bit of a write-up on the back. Now, it's not a really cartoon, there is a couple of illustrations in it, there's a map inside and things like that. So what it basically is in a nutshell, I'm going to be truthful, I haven't read it actually, I haven't read it because I haven't had time, but my wife has read it from cover to cover. When we were on holiday in the Lake District, she read this book and thoroughly enjoyed it, I've got to say, because we had about 3 days of constant rain. Perfect, and she really enjoyed it. So what it is basically, Gorilla the Chimp actually is an astronaut, as you probably guessed from the illustration, who works for NASA. It's kind of like it's got a sort of 1960s vibe about it here, pre-moonshot. And I know that John was a big fan of the moonshots and all the space exploration at that time, which I say he's about the same age as me, so I can identify with that. Gorilla the Chimp, his space capsule goes a bit haywire and he ends up crashing in the Atlantic Ocean just a little short distance away from an island, and he ends up basically getting onto this island and befriending this family who sort of take him in, and then there's all sorts of amusing adventures, and there is for example, there's a 1944 crashed aircraft which Gorilla the Chimp discovers and all this kind of thing. Very amusing stuff and actually very funny and light entertainment. Anyway, I'll just read what it says on the back. Now I should explain first of all, I'm not really given a context to this. So John is a very keen modeller himself. He's a subscriber to my channel, he watches my stuff regularly, and he's also a Flory member of the Flory Forum. So I actually saw this on his little advert he has on his Flory signature. He has it as like an avatar, and I thought that looks quite interesting. I think this could be quite amusing, so I went out and we got this, yes, I can definitely recommend it to you. My wife said she thoroughly enjoyed it, so let me just read this. It's time for a really nice story about family, growing up, and how to love one another. Gorilla is launched into space, his capsule goes haywire, he's blasted off course and he lands on a beach. He's able to get into his life raft and make it safely ashore. Not knowing what happened, he's scared and very alone. Soon he's found by Derek and Sally Shaw, who take him into their home on Gannet Island. Where they get into the Shaw's house, everybody, including Gorilla, is in for a very big surprise. And it gives a little bit of a sort of biopic about John. It says, Gorilla the Chimp has been part of John's family for over 20 years. He was brought to life through many adventures and bedtime stories with his kids. John grew up watching the Apollo moon landings, like me, and is a big fan of space history. He's a pilot, and currently resides in Southern California with his wife Cheryl. His children, the victims of his imagination, are both now in college. And this was probably written a little while ago. He's very happy to now share Gorilla with the world. Well, I'll tell you what, I think that it's got a fantastic, I think the cartoon illustration is brilliant. Helps to sell this product very well. So I'll just tell you now, it's something you can read on a weekend. It's very, very pleasant, light-hearted stuff. Don't have to be children. I'd say it's for children aged 7 to 75. Anyway, thought I'd give John a shout out. So thanks to John. I think he was quite impressed when he saw me reading this. I sent him a little message on the Flory Forum with me, deeply engrossed in it. I tend to not to read physical books these days. It's just part laziness. I'm not dyslexic. I can read fine, but it's just the time. So I tend to go for audiobooks. But I was getting a download of this every day from my wife, and it's kind of saved me having to read all of it. But maybe at Christmas time, when the weather's really bad, I'll have more time. I will read it then, I promise you. But very good fun. There you go. So there's the first one. Now John, I should just mention, he's not just a very casual sort of loose connection. John is a very accomplished modeller. I've seen some of his work, and he's really good. You know, he's very enthusiastic, and he's a very big member on the Flory Forum. So any of you that are Flory members, go and check him out and maybe buy the book, and that all helps John and helps to pay for his kids' education if they're still in college. That is. Anyway, that's the first one. Now, more seriously, a couple of others I want to talk about. Another book which I'll come to in a second, but first, and I've got to get this one out of the way because this is a bit overdue. When I did my recent, about a month or two ago, we did this talk about 3D printing, and I'm not particularly into 3D printing as a subject. I've got no intentions of getting a 3D printer or anything like that. But I do think it's impressive the way that these designs can be envisaged by 3D printing and have a much finer quality of kit parts, upgrades and aftermarket items. I'm just going to put my light on, give me a bit more light. Here we go. Maybe sometimes it's a bit too much, isn't it? Just turn it down to a little bit less. There we go. So, and I talked about this in this, and we talked about Beau Monroe, this chap over in Illinois, who does these 3D designs, and I showed an example, the most finely printed, tiny gossamer thin, in this case it's World War One framework for a Fokker biplane from World War One. Anyway, this is where I've got some apologies to make now. So I wanted to do something tonight where I give back a bit to, because people could pop up and they give me models and things and send me things, and happens all the time, and it's so hard sometimes to keep up with them. So I thought we'd have just 2 or 3 tonight where people that need a shout out and deserve one get one. And this shout out is going to a gentleman called Mike Norris. Now Mike saw my Beau Monroe talk, and he's a much greater expert on the subject than I, much greater. And he's used a lot of these 3D printed designs in kits he's built. And I'll show you some of his work in a second, because his website is definitely worth checking out. So I'll put a link below so you can go and have a look at his website in your own time afterwards, because there's a lot to it, and he's put a huge amount of effort into it. Really impressive stuff, actually. Anyway, the funny part of the story is, well, it's not funny for him. The funny part of the story is he first of all contacted me, I think via the Flory Forum. He's another Flory member. And he dropped me a line, and he said something like, "Oh yeah, I saw you talking about this. I think you should be aware that I've done a lot of these, and I've got these files with photographs of the work I've done. Would you like to see it?" And I'm always up to show, especially the quality of this stuff you're going to see is incredible. And I said, yeah, please do. Yeah, Mike sent it along. Now, I don't know if it was a combination of me being a bit of a Luddite, or some of these, I gave him my email address, and some of it just never seemed to arrive, and he sent it several times. Some of it went into my spam box, and then I found out that, and I actually got to open it up. But I never, it came via WeTransfer files, not a thing I know much about. But they have a very short life. You have to open the link within, 48 hours of receiving it. And I never did, because this is a time when I was away and I was working a lot. For a variety of excuses, reasons, I kept missing it. I think poor Mike has been getting quite frustrated. I don't blame him. He must have sent it 6 times, I think, in total. I think he thinks I'm doing it on purpose. I promise you I wasn't. It was just a combination of me not getting it and then a bit of incompetence on my part. And I said to him, I said, look, I'm definitely going to feature this, And he's been very, very, I was going to say persistent, but that sounds a bit pushy. He wasn't like that at all. But very tenacious in being patient, sending it again and sending it again. And then I click on it and it says expired. It's like, oh! And then he chases up and says, you haven't opened this. And it's expired now. And I'm thinking, I don't understand any of this. quite funny. Shows my lack of IT skills, really. Anyway, he sent me this. He's now sent it in a different format where he actually sent me the photographs directly, which I'll show you in a second, of a Fokker D7 that he worked on. So I'll start with that. I'll read out what it says here. I'll get you the photos. That would be a good way to go. Let's just show you that. So I'll zoom you in. I think this will be the best way. Oops, this will be the best way. Get the Horsehead Nebula up and working. There we go. Whoops, got to be so careful with the angle. No, we don't want that. Thank you very much. Let's go back to how we were. So we've got technical problems, right? There we are. Yeah. No. Right. Here we are. This is what we're looking for. Right, here we go. Now then. Okay. So this is the Fokker D7 that Mike Norris, this gentleman who's been very kindly and very patient with me, has sent me these pictures, and he's just given me a little bit of a background here. We'll talk about his website in more detail in a second. So what you see before you is the Fokker D7, and he says the 3D printed wings. Now these are the ones. This is what the same. I'll flick through them. I mean, it's mighty impressive, isn't it? The 3D printed wings are these Bow Munro designs, which I talked about, and they're actually printed by Aviatics, Richard Andrews, which many of you will be aware of, his company. But this is like a combo. This particular kit. You see that fine ribbing detail that we spoke of before when we looked at the little printed fuselage and the wings I had from that kit a few weeks ago. So in this case we've got the 3D printed wings with Aviatics, and it's the Bow Munro designer wing. The cockpit, forward fuselage and the engine though are from the Wingnut Wings kit. So what he's done, he's looked at the Wingnut Wings kit and thought, if it wasn't more detail on things like the wing ribs. So he's done like a hybrid of a couple of different concepts. And then he's got the propeller, which we'll see in a bit more detail in a second. You can see that's very like the one I showed you, obviously. Now the propeller here, which is pretty incredible, I'm going to zoom in a bit more. I'm going to have to actually zoom this picture in. Whoops. Zoom the picture in a bit more so you see it a bit better. There we go. The propeller, interestingly, is real wood laminated by Alex Belov at Proper Plane in the Ukraine. The wheels are handmade by Steve Robson, and I think I showed you some examples of that before. We talked about it in that previous video. All the rigging, additional detail and landing gear was scratch made by Mike Norris himself. Isn't that impressive? Hey, look at that. I mean, that propeller is something else, isn't it? That really is nice. That's absolutely amazing. Beautiful work. I mean, this is the last word, isn't it? It's all 1/32 scale, of course. You see that beautiful fine detail. I mean, you don't want to cover it because it would sort of spoil it, you know. It would sort of spoil it, wouldn't it? Sorry, I need to zoom back a bit here. A bit too far now. There we go. Yeah, let's just move Gorilla the chip. It's distracting slightly there. But look at that, isn't it incredible? The finest. Look at the fine, all the rigging he's done. Oh, the rigging is so fine. Jeez, it really is amazing. That wooden prop's something else. So, this is the Aviatics stroke Bow Munro design. Aviatics produced. This is the Wingnut Wings bit, and then further back is the wood effect here. That's done very nicely. Isn't it gorgeous? So the World War I fans among you are going to find Mike Norris's website, which I'll show you in a second. Very interesting indeed. It's just sublime, that is. Absolutely sublime. Beautiful work from Mike. So, let me show you his website. We will just go straight in. Now, I just want to I'll just explain this before I show you the overview of the website. This is an example. What he's done is, for every build he does, I mean, many of us on things like the Flory Forum will do like a build log. something I'm very bad at. I always do the drag my feet and do it all a bit lastminute.com, but this has been done in such a professional manner. So he's got an Albatross D1, and then he talks about his background and how he served in the Royal Air Force. Come to that in a second. It's like a full intro, a complete log of the building of this kit. It shows his work area, which is much more impressive than mine, it has to be said. And it shows some of his other work there. He's got these wing kits he hasn't built yet on the top. And the aftermarket that he's put in, figures, decals, propeller. Wow. Such detail, display base. I mean, this is quite heavy reading, but in a good way, because no detail is left uncovered here. No stone is left unturned. It's got some of those famous World War I photographs like you see in the Wing Not Wings instruction book, which I think is where he's got some of these. And then, you know, the colour schemes that are available, and then the pilot. The pilot is actually modelling on the real pilot, Dieter Collin. Wow. Model description. And it's a Roden in this particular case, it's not Wing Not Wings. So it's the Roden kit. So yes, obviously didn't take it from Wing Not Wings' instruction book, as I alleged. That's wrong, obviously. It's historical photos he's got here. I mean, this is just one of many kits that he's produced, and this is exactly the sort of the depth that Mike Norris goes into. I think it's worth seeing. It's worth seeing. And then he goes into the build, and it's just such depth, weathering. I was using the Flory washers there, okay, which most of us do. Certainly on this side of the pond, anyway. AK real colours, AK washers, all sorts. Still think there's another one I recognised. Flory pigments, Humbrol as well, and some Tamiya ones too. So a bit of everything really, which is the way to go, isn't it? Abteilung oils. Yes. And he just goes into such depth. Every element, every stage is explained in detail. Real depth. Did he mention gas patch then? Did I see that? Gas patch, turnbuckles. Yeah, we know about those. Oh, absolutely incredible. So then he's got the engine, and he's obviously going to detail this up quite a bit from the standard Wing Not Wings. Roden, I should say. And so it goes on anyway. What I'll do next is, as I'm just flicking through, obviously it's quite word heavy rather than picture heavy. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Wood effects he's got, absolutely fantastic. Quite a lot of extra detail in propeller. Alex at Proper Plane in the Ukraine. There we go. Aren't they lovely? I've talked about them before, of course. Weapons, gas patch, Vickers, is it? Oh, Spandau. Vickers, what am I saying? That's British. Spandau machine guns from gas patch. Right gun, left gun. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that stunning? Really impressive stuff. Yeah. And then the construction. And on it goes. So what I'm going to do, rather than go through every picture of that particular one, I think what we'll do is zoom you back. Because you probably saw I'm a bit low on power on my my iPad, a bit remiss of me, but let's go back a step and let's look at Mike's, this is Mike's website, and I'll say the link will be below. So have a look, and it's Mike's World War I aircraftmodels.com. Easy one to remember, actually. A good title if ever there was one. So here, I think Mike is the guy in the middle, I think. He didn't make that too clear, I don't think. But look at these. Look at the gallery. He goes on to say, "I'm Mike Norris from Lincolnshire, in the United Kingdom. I started plastic modelling as a child for many years, and then I stopped modelling, like most of us do, as I got older. Then I went in the Royal Air Force for 26 years, and was known as Mike Sandbagger Norris. Sandbagger apparently. Sorry, let's go down. Mike Sandbagger Norris, and apparently they called him Sandbagger because I think it was felt by his colleagues that he used to tell a lot of tall stories. Let's hope that these model logs are not tall stories there. Let's have a look at his gallery though, because this is what's really, there's some amazing stuff in here. I mean, look at this one. The flow, the flea. Check this out. Some absolutely astonishing work here. Let's try to get that. There we go. Look at that. Reflection. This is a Dornier design, would you believe? Isn't it quite remarkable? That's just crazy. I mean, that's a bizarre looking aircraft I've ever saw one. Interesting though, to put it mildly. How that flew, I can't imagine. It's so short, isn't it? It's crazy. Looks like the sort of thing that Snoopy should be flying, that one. Anyway, let's go back and have a look at a couple of the others. So he's got Sopwith triplane. Sopwith triplane, here we go. And he's got it in this gallery format. It's like a slideshow, so I don't really have to do anything. It just it spills through the pictures, you know. So this is in this case it's winged up wings, and this is just, there is no detail left uncovered by him. So I have to say, one of the best models for World War One I've come across, really. Right up there with the very best. Quite astonishing. Look at that engine. Jeez. Fantastic work. I'm just going to make it a little bit quicker. Look at that. See the triplane there, can't you? And then, let's go back. See what else we got. The Moraine Saulnier, the Bullet. Look at that. Nice. Wow. Fantastic work. The rigging, God, it terrifies me just looking at it. I'm going to have a go at rigging, aren't I? Yeah, I've been given the turnbuckles, I've got no excuses really. I've got the right line, I've got the right turnbuckles. I'm going to have to get on with it and get some of these done, some of these World War One kits. I think I need to do the Sopwith Camel probably first. That's very nice indeed. Oops. Going back, what else we got? There's a Pfalz there, there's an SE5, let's check the SE5 out. Ah, yes. Oh, that's nice. That's gorgeous. Oh, so you can see the petrol gauge there. It's got that strange long targeting sight they used. Look at that. Pilots in their leather gear. Very nice. And the case as well, that's very cool. I'd like some cases like this. I was getting some actually. Wow. So that's the SE5. Sopwith Snipe. Fuck, Eindecker. Now then. Check this out. Sounds like I've got an Eindecker flying over. I think it's a helicopter though. I like the way it had the German crosses on the props there. That was quite interesting. Anyway, there are many of these, and this is just the first gallery. So then there's gallery 2, with pups and all sorts. Then there's the skeletal the D7 we just saw. Hansa Brandenburg. Check this out, the seaplane. Now then, that's cool. Look at that. That's a nice one. And you know, I think you can see as you look through these as well that, like most modelers, his skills have developed, well beyond mine, I've got to say, for the look of it. But you can see the improvement in skill levels as you look through his galleries, which is the way it should be, of course, for all of us. Look at that. That's impressive. That is very, very nice. Complete with the trestle at the back to keep the tail up. That looks like it's on a beach, doesn't it? Epic. Yeah, very nice figures. See the improvement in his figures quality as well. Really coming along there nicely. What else has he got? So many. With Swallow. Gallery 3. I mean, it just goes on and he's clearly a fanatic of World War One. Let's have a look at this rather nice looking Newport. Nice paint job on this. Yeah, so some amazing stuff, really. Unusual camo, that, isn't it? French. Huh. Look at the guns. Thick as guns, isn't it? Slung on the side. That's incredible. Just slung them on the side all around the cowl. 4 of them. Wow. Go back to the gallery, see what else there is. Junkers D1. Another nice one. Epic. Absolutely brilliant. You can see the the corrugation in the actual metal things. Fantastic. Nice model. Very nice. Premium. Huh. Yeah, that's really, really good. Let's see what else we have here. Upstadt, Fokker E4, Hansa Brandenburg, the W12 Brandenburg, the earlier one, the biplane version. Yep. Biplane version, yep. The monoplane we saw earlier on, of course. Huh. Some lovely work, isn't there? Absolutely incredible. Let's look in the 5th one. I forgot how we started making. Hanriot. Hanriot. I've never even heard of that one, to be honest. Hanriot? Really? Hanriot. Belgian. Belgian? Is that a Belgian design? Don't know much about it, I'm afraid. Show my ignorance there. Huh. Yeah. Some really, really nice aircraft. And Sopwith Dolphin, is that? Bristol F2B. Now then. Out in the desert, look. Incredible. Complete with camel. Brilliant. So that's Mike's. Sorry, just zoom you back a bit. That's Mike's World War One aircraft models.com. Definitely worth a visit if you are interested in that genre. You will find his website really interesting, and to Mike, thank you very much, A, for sending me this stuff, and B, for being so incredibly patient of a saint you must have. I don't know what was come over. Every time I kept thinking, oh yeah, Mike sent me that email, I'll sort it tomorrow, and then I'd click on it the next day and it'd be this file has expired and I couldn't get anything. So anyway, he's sent us more than what we needed. So as I said, there's a link below if you have a look underneath. Definitely worth having a look at that website because it's really opened my eyes, and there's so many beautiful World War One kits he's built. And also he got work in progress, so he's doing a Bristol Scout at the moment. Bristol Scout, okay. This is a very good website for a modeller, I've got to say. It's well above average. I haven't got I haven't got my own website at all. It's so professionally done, it's brilliant. So, hats off to Mike, thank you very much indeed, and thanks for being so patient. And I did promise I'd do a feature about yourself. Certainly something worth your time if you're into that genre of modelling. So, Mike Norris, Mike's WorldWar1models.com. There you go. Right, finally, before I forget, another keen subscriber who has sent me something, again very kindly, all the way from Australia this time. It's a gentleman called Angus Brittus, or as you might know, better know him, Lord Flashhard. You know, Rick Mail, you'll remember Blackadder, I'm sure. I think that's his name on YouTube. Anyway, he sent me this really nice book, which is about the, very interesting actually, Australia's Cold War anti-submarine weapon, the Ikara or Akara. And what this basically is, it's basically like, it looks like a cruise missile, but it's not actually. It's basically a rocket-powered drone, if you like, that then drops a torpedo to attack submarines at long range. And obviously have very high speeds. Very interesting book indeed, and Angus is the actual author of the book, so yeah, that's why I thought I'd use his full name, because I'm sure he'll appreciate that. This is a book I have just received, so I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I've already had a jolly good nosy. There's some absolutely brilliant illustrations, and there's some very interesting connections with the Royal Australian Navy. They call themselves, is it the RNAS, the Royal Navy Australians? This is what I'm showing Angus. He's the Naval Historical Society of Australia that Angus is in, obviously. But the Royal Australian Navy basically developed this, and it underwent some sea trials with the Royal Navy, who were looking at it as well. And it went to the Falklands War. I don't think it was actually used in anger, because, as you know, by the time things really got going in terms of the landings, etc., the Argentine Navy disappeared after they had the Belgrano sunk, of course. But let me just zoom you in and let you see some of the photographs in this book. So some really interesting stuff indeed. Now this is an all-Australian design and production. It's not something that they've taken from the British or the Americans. A very interesting cataloguing of the development of this weapon. There's actually a very good diagram, if we can find it. Yeah, there we go. HMS Brit. Here we go. This is a very important picture. I mentioned the Falklands. HMS Bristol on patrol with a Chinook behind. There weren't many of them. On deployment in the Falklands, and this is the ship that actually carried this weapon. And they were doing some testing and evaluation. So the idea is, shows the diagram here. It fires, and up to 10 nautical miles on. Sorry, it's got a maximum range of 175 nautical miles. That's a long way. 175 nautical miles it can carry this torpedo, and then delivers the torpedo close into the locality of the submarine that it's trying to attack. And that is very important. It could be nuclear armed as well, so it could actually be quite a devastating weapon. Quite frightening, really. And I'm just looking for the diagram which I saw, which shows it very, very succinctly. If you just bear with me 1 second. There you go, Ikara. It's got this Cold War wonder weapon. It's a lovely book, and it's clearly got masses of research has gone into it by Angus. Can I find the one I want? No, can I? Heckers like. Zoom you back out. You've got to be looking at me, if nothing else. By the way, he signed this book, this copy for me, and he's put on the front, "To Peter, a small token of thanks for your excellent shows. Enjoy, Angus," for kind of him. Kind words, kind words. Where is this picture? There's a really good diagram which shows basically all you need to know of the basic elements of the weapon. Is it there? I went straight to it earlier on, and now I've got in front of the camera. I can't find it. Talk amongst yourselves, I'll be there in a minute. It shows the construction there, but that's not what I was after. It's near the end, I'm sure. There it is. I don't know, I've skipped past that. Okay, so here it is. Maybe I'm just, it's my eyes are going or something. So here it is. So you can see here, there's the basics of it. Here's the torpedo that it deploys on a parachute. So basically, it's effectively a cruise missile with a torpedo attached as a separate ejectable weapon that it delivers. So that the cruise missile delivers it to the target area, and then the sonar, you've got a sonar guided torpedo which basically takes it into the target. It's a little bit like Sea Dart in its basic concept in terms of the rocket. That's obviously an air, ground-to-air or surface-to-air missile. But the basics are there. It's got some similar technologies in terms of rocket motor ideas. It's quite clever. It's got its own autopilot. It's got onboard telemetry gyroscopes to control its flight. And I'm sure it's all, when I get to read it properly, I'm sure then it basically deposits this thing. It's not small either. I said about Sea Dart. I mentioned that partly because it has a mounting and a launching system that reminds me of Sea Dart a little bit. It's not unlike it as a concept. And there's a picture of one actually taking off on the deck of HMAS Stuart. Her Majesty's Australian ship, that's the way they denote them for the Aussies, of course. Very interesting. Oh. Got over here, the British... What are these Australians doing to our ship? The British submarine HMS Taciturn, which participated in ICARA shoots at the Jervis Bay missile range. In other words, this Royal Navy sub was a target. Oh dear. If you ever get time to read the book properly, which may take me a little bit of time, it says here, a sea venom, a de Havilland sea venom used for trials of the ICARA's guidance fin and torpedo dropping apparatus. So they used it like a mule to test things, you know. I mean, it's clearly a very interesting weapon, and that Australia came up with this is quite impressive, I have to say. It just reminds me of one of the weapons that was being developed for the Vulcan. I'm trying to think which one it was. Quite a good diagram here of the various components. It shows the rocket motor as a separate entity there inside, and then you've got your torpedo underneath. All in all, quite an impressive looking weapon, and I need to really read the book to get the most out of it. And it's talking about how they took the inspiration from the German World War II Fritz X guided bomb. This is where the idea came from. Yeah. There's a full history here of where the concept originated from. But a very impressive book, especially when I've had an author signed copy sent all the way from Australia, which, by the way, from what Angus was telling me, I think it arrived in less than a week, which I was very surprised about. I think that arrived in about 5 working days, which I couldn't get. I recently sold one of my kits, just an odd one that I thought I wasn't going to use, one of my Tamiya kits, and it just went into hyperspace and has never been seen since, and it was a 75 quid kit. So we are not very pleased with the Royal Mail in the UK, who seem to now be arguing about refunding of it. They've never delivered it. We've got sold via eBay, so we have an unhappy eBay buyer who then got refunded automatically because eBay seems to favour the buyer sometimes too much, because it hadn't really had a chance to be delivered. I think the buyer was a bit quick off the mark in complaining in this case, but he did have a case because it had not been delivered, and I don't know what the hell the Royal Mail had done with it. So, coming from Australia though, that arrived really rapidly. So Angus, thank you very much indeed. Give you a quick plug there. So I'll give you a quick read of what it says on the back about Angus himself. It says, Angus Brits, I called him Britas, didn't he? Angus Brits, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Angus. Maybe I am dyslexic after all. He's a qualified historian and author. He attended the King's School in Parramatta and subsequent obtained his Bachelor of Arts, majoring in political science at the University of New England. First class honours in history and postgraduate Master of Philosophy, history, at the University of Sydney. He has authored 2 books, Neglected Skies, The Demise of the British Naval Power in the Far East, and A Ceaseless Watch, Australia's third part naval defence, both produced in the United States by the Naval Institute Press. In addition, he has authored the currently unpublished work, The Wide Dark Bosom of the Angry Deep, 20 of colonial Australia's deadliest shipwrecks. That sounds interesting. His interests include military and maritime history, Australian politics and international relations. He's currently employed as a sound recordist in the court system and resides in Neutral Bay, Sydney, New South Wales. Well, that's a very interesting biopic, isn't it? Fantastic. And it says here about the actual book and about the weapon, it says, the book describes the history of the Australian designed and built Ikara anti-submarine missile system. It traces the story of Ikara from concept development to feasibility study in 1959 through to approval, design, production and service, which ended in 1991. Good run. During its period of service, it proved to be the most effective means to engage submarine targets at longer ranges and with faster response times and greater accuracy than other systems available worldwide. The history of the Ikara missile is a case study which demonstrated the ability of Australia's government, Defence Department, research laboratories and defence industry to work together to develop a state-of-the-art weapon system. The book also demonstrates clearly that Australia has the ability to be self-reliant in the development of world-class precision weapons in the past. It provides a historical reconstruction of both the scientific, technological, engineering challenges involved in the top level of defence and government decision making, and provides an insight into how such processes proceed and the many factors that affect the initiation, continuation and ultimately the ceasing of such programmes over several decades. Well, I think Angus picked up on this when he heard me talking about the TSR2 story not too long ago. Yeah, I'm sure he recognised a lot of those issues. The author, Angus Britz, has addressed all aspects of the weapon and has fleshed out issues which remain relevant in discussion surrounding the nation's defence requirements and procurement practices today, though the recollections of those associated with Ikara during the various phases through the recollections of those associated with Ikara during the various phases of its very lengthy service. Wow. I mean, he's gone into this with great forensic depth. Very interesting. So when I've got more time, it's another one of these. I'm thinking, oh, another book, you know. I mean, I've been listening to we had the D-Day celebrations recently, and I've been listening to the Max Hastings audio book because it's another, huge book, and I just haven't got time to sit and read it. And I'm not making much progress on the mosquito as we speak, but I'm going to. The trouble is, it's just that time of the year here in the UK where we've had some really nice weather in the last week or so. Barbecues, sitting out in the sun, doing the garden, mowing the lawn, all that kind of thing. All gets in the way, doesn't it? Anyway, Angus, thank you very much for that book. Absolutely excellent. So that's Angus Britz, Ikara, Australia's Cold War wonder weapon. Very interesting historical book indeed, and very grateful to receive that. We had John Pagham's Gorilla the Chimp, slightly more light-hearted read. When you probably need cheering up, that's the very thing to do, or get it for your kids. I think any child aged 7 plus, as I said, 7 to 75 will enjoy that. And there we go, something a bit different today. I just wanted to recognise some of the contributions made by different subscribers to the channel. I recently hit the 9,000 subscribers level, which was very impressive and something I'm very grateful for. And I thought it's time to recognise some of the people that have popped up and I get offers of lots of things. Sometimes people pop up and offer me things that we've already done now, so I tried to get back to everybody. I'm sure there was somebody else that I didn't get back to, and I can't remember who it was. I'm sure he was from Scandinavia. So if you're watching, that gentleman, just remind me again. I can't remember, he popped up with something I'd already done. I think it might have been the Matchbox Lysander he was offering me. We've done that, of course, but I meant to reply, but because it wasn't kind of urgent and I wasn't going to go ahead with it, I think I may have inadvertently let that one slip. It can happen sometimes. It's not deliberate, I promise you. As Mike Norris will attest, I get there in the end. finally, you know. But thank you very much to all of you that have contributed and offer things and make all sorts of contributions, from comments to background info. So many people that we recently had this tribute to Sharkey Ward, a Falklands War fame, and some amazing people popped up with all sorts of background, people that worked with him or knew him. Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. Always great to get the input and knowledge from other people, especially when they've got personal experience. So thank you all very much. Mike Norris, Angus Brits, John Pagham, and I wish you all very well. Hope you have a good week, and we'll be back in the not very distant future. We've got some very exciting new kits coming from ICM, and until next time, thank you very much for watching. Hope you found it of some interest, and look forward to seeing you very soon. In the meantime, thanks a lot, take care of yourselves, and bye for now.